In this video, we're again going to build on the previous step in exploring the agent auth or AAuth spec or exploratory spec. And in this section, what we're going to do is we're going to dig into how the user can be brought in by the authorization server to determine whether or not a particular access should be granted to an AI agent. And so specifically, we'll be looking at this part of the full working demo. So go check this out. It's implemented with Keycloak and Agent Gateway and a number of agents to demonstrate this. But if we click on agent authorization, what we'll see is the UI will call into the backend. The backend will go through the same steps to get authorization. So supply chain agent will respond with a resource token, and the backend will call Keycloak with that resource token. But Keycloak in this case now will decide, based on policy and rules, that for this particular action and this scope and authorization to be approved, the user needs to consent. Right. So in this case, the authorization server will return a request token, and that will trigger the backend to say this needs to be presented to the user, and then the user needs to go through the consent, say yes, and if so, then we can finish up the flow, the auth flow, to get the auth token. So why don't we go ahead? Let's see. Do I have a diagram? No. We'll just go into the demo. All right. So I'm going to call into our supply chain again, but I'm running in a mode that should trigger the user consent. Why don't we log back in? So I tried to call the agent. The agent went through the AAuth flow, went through the authorizations, and said, actually, you need the user to approve this. These are the scopes that we'll approve. And we'll go ahead and say yes, and then it should proceed. And just like in the previous demos, we'll go take a look at the traces. And we can see here that we called into the supply chain agent, and let's see, what do we got here? We have a token. Where did we get challenged by the user? That might be a separate trace. Yeah, right here. Right. So we called into the supply chain agent. Supply chain agent responded with the resource token, just like we saw in the previous video. We used that token to call the authorization server. The authorization server said this requires the user's consent, and so go get the user's consent. And then when we finally have the user's consent and call back in, we can see the token that gets sent back in has a subject, and this is the user. In any of the previous AAuth tokens, we haven't seen a subject. But here we see a subject, that is the user. We see the agent has been explicitly identified cryptographically based on the some of the flows we saw earlier. This is intended for the supply chain agent, which we expect, with the correct scopes. It's issued by Keycloak, and it is cryptographically tied to the backend. Only the backend can send this token. Right, and so now the supply chain agent receives this token. It knows that for it to have been presented here, that it went through the authorization flows that AAuth requires. So now we have the user involved. The last bit here is what happens when we make a call from one agent to another. how do we maintain that this user is involved and that this market analysis agent knows that a call originated on behalf of the original user? So in the next video, next section we'll take a look at is the token exchange mechanism that needs to happen here. Stay tuned.